us into what I would consider more of the hard meta, and depending on what your preferences are, you might go with the SVA over the LSW for long range, or you're going to go over the Striker versus the WSP9. So I think the vast majority of people will enjoy either of those. Many of you have probably already tried those and you were looking for something new. Unfortunately, we're in that meta bubble where it kind of most of the stuff feels like whatever. So we'll go ahead and go through this one first. So this one's kind of the long range option. The great part is that even with this build, we're getting a decent bullet velocity of over 1,000, which again gives us about 52 meters on that hit scan range that we talked about in the previous video. We go into the range, you can kind of see it doesn't look like it moves very much. Obviously those dummies aren't supposed to be like all that far, but this is a 50-meter target, so you're going to be able to hit range up to that point. And then when you go ahead and kind of look at the individual recoil, you can see it's not really like a fast climber, and all you do is just hold down a little bit of side to side, but again, not a big deal. Once you hold down on the right joystick, you're good to go. So definitely try that one out. It's good, especially after the buffs. It was good before, but now it's actually very good. I don't know, SVA is still just kind of brain dead easy to use, so we'll talk about that. And this one is if you do not mind the iron sight. Most of your targets will be a little bit closer. I'm not a huge fan of these, even though they're fairly clean. The extra 2 bars that come up are a little bit blocking of your view compared to some of the other options we've had. But overall, you can see that this thing, pretty good. I struggle probably a little bit at 50 meters, but the reality is you shouldn't be challenging people at 50 meters. 25 meters is more than enough for this gun, and it feels pretty solid at that range. Then we get the SVA, which is multiple builds. I think there's not really too many bad builds on the SVA, but there's a lot of good builds, which is pretty nice spot to be in. So even if your build looks slightly different, I'll talk about some variations when it comes to this. You're going to want to run it in single fire and do the tap burst. You could keep it in full auto if you want. It just kills a little bit more consistently fast if you keep it in semi-auto, and that's just kind of how it goes. Maybe you toggle between depending on what range your target's at. You can do sonic suppressor. You could go further and go ahead and get something like the Harbinger if you wanted to get even more bullet velocity out of it. The problem with this though, it's going to slow you down 100 milliseconds. So something like that's not worth it. You could reduce the spread of the bullets by also putting on something like the Zemin. You could do that and you'll lose a little bit of bullet velocity. Or you can get rid of high grain, and then you can actually put on the underbarrel for the Bruin heavy support. And the main thing for that is just, you can get the tighter spread, because if you fire into the sky, you'll see the bullets kind of go like this, like this, like this. Sometimes they go near each other. Anytime you're reducing the recoil, improve the consistency of those shots so that you can get the regular 2 burst actually hitting, the hyper burst actually hitting. So this is a build for that. And pretty much what will happen is when you put this in semi-auto, you don't have to adjust for recoil. No matter how fast you do it, you can go ahead and kind of do that. The reason why I don't tend to leave it in full auto is because what will happen is if I do this too fast, you can see the inconsistency because my trigger finger's fast enough where a third bullet comes out because it registers as me holding it for half a second or whatever the case is. So I tend to just do that so I can get a nice consistent 2 burst, 2 burst, 2 burst, 2 burst. All the way through. Last but not least, the Striker. And one important attachment that we've changed for a lot of our builds, not all of them, is the DR hand stop to the XRK edge. And this is something because the DR56 or the DR6 hand stop got nerfed. The main thing I look at though is, in general, the XRK is going to be better for like 99% of situations. But in some instances where a gun might have a slow sprint to fire, like in this case, it's only 105. It's not terrible. There's some that are like 170. You might go with the hand stop. An example of this was the MCW, which we saw over here. If we go ahead and kind of look over here, we can see that the sprint to fire time is 177. That's terrible. And if we went with the XRK, it would be even worse than that. So we get a little bit better improvement. And that's kind of some of the decision making when we're making with some of those attachments. Again, there's multiple good builds on this one. This is kind of the one I landed on to adjust for kind of how it works. If you don't like the iron sights, you're going to have to sacrifice something. It mainly only has vertical recoil, just literally straight vertical. You can see it has a quick climb and then it slows down. So if you adjust, and then you'll be able to adjust and it'll go ahead and shoot straight. for that amount of bullets or whatever the case is. Let me know what you guys are leaning to. I'm sure I left plenty of your favorites off the list because we only covered 10 today, but appreciate all the support. If you enjoy, hit the subscribe button. See you on the next one. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.